Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Doing another quick update. I have to show the more damage that we got, but first I'm going to show you. Finally cut the tops off of these barrels here, and what I'm going to do, at least with one of them, if not both of them, is I'm going to set up a biochar container, and I just got to get everything for that. I have some charcoal, and I've got plenty of wood to burn, but the goal is you don't want ash. You want something, see that kind of charcoal right there? That's more what you're looking for, because you don't want too big of a piece, but you don't want ash, because ash doesn't do what you're wanting it to do. You want charcoal, put it in those barrels, and then you put, I think you do put water in there, but you also put, I've heard you can use something like Dynagrow, you can use, urine, you could use fish fertilizer, you can use kelp fertilizer, you can use any sort of good liquid fertilizer. You can put it in there and you soak that charcoal, and it absorbs all of that nutrient in fertilizer. And then what I'm going to do is come out here and I'm going to put it in the rows, and if I can, I mean, you're supposed to, but if I can, like, somewhat dig it in, because basically when you dig it into the soil, it's like a delayed release fertilizer. So you work it into the soil, and then it just slowly, because it's absorbed all of that nutrient, it just slowly releases it into the soil. And I'm trying to build better soil here, so that's kind of my goal. So like I said, at least one of those barrels is going to be used for that. More than likely I'm going to use both barrels for it, but we will see. I keep getting these little baby oak trees. You can see the little acorn where it came from. There's another one. There's the little acorn that it started as. But good news and bad news. Good news, these little guys, that's my acerola cutting and my mulberry cutting, survived the freeze. Bad news is not much else did, at least in the garden. I didn't really expect it to, though. I'm hoping that these, once I cut these Mexican sunflowers back, that they will come back. I'm not doing it right now because I don't want to cut all the dead off and then we have another freeze, because there's a possibility we have another freeze and then it kills even further down. So I'm leaving the dead leaves and all that stuff on as long as I can, until I know we're safe from another freeze, and then I'll come out and I'll hard prune everything. But the tomatoes, I've got some tomatoes here. That one doesn't look very good. I'll take that one in. I'll take this one in. I'll take this one in. So these look pretty good. I'm surprised. I didn't expect any more to ripen, but so yeah, I got some tomatoes here. And I'm gonna leave these on here as much as I want to just tear these out, because you can see these tomatoes just didn't survive, and they're not going to. That's the thing with stuff with plants like this. They're not going to survive freezing temperatures. They just don't. That's not their thing. They can't handle it. So, but I'm going to leave these on here as long as I can to see if they do ripen anymore, because I have several clusters. Something ate that one, so I'm going to toss it away. But I have several more clusters on here, and I would like them to ripen. you can see a bunch of them fell off because of the freeze. And that happens. This one doesn't look very good. Looks like something's been messing with it. But I'll leave them and see what they do. And I can always plant more. I have plenty of seeds. Turnips, however, will be fine. I'm hoping I will get some good turnips. This one doesn't look all that good, but I'm gonna leave it there. But stuff like turnips and greens, and I think I mentioned this before, but stuff like turnips and greens and your stuff like broccoli and cabbage and that sort of thing, they will do pretty, they tend to do well in freezing temperatures or frosts and stuff like that. In fact, sometimes it can make them taste better. But they're a more temperate vegetable. So, but probably what I'm gonna do, because the pumpkin vines are officially dead because of the frost, so I'm gonna probably just harvest these pumpkins because they're not gonna be getting any more nutrients from the vine. So I'm probably just gonna come and harvest them all and see if they ripen and continue to ripen inside. Blueberries are flowering and sending up new shoots. Blueberry plants, when it comes to like frost and stuff like that, they'll be fine. Now, if your plants have already started to set things like fruit or even flowers, it will probably kill those off. But the plants will be fine. As you can see, it's fine. Mine just started flowering, so I don't think that it's going to be an issue. Hopefully we'll still get some blueberries. This is the tree that I'm the most worried about right here, is my Jamaican Cherry, because it looks pitiful. But there again, I'm going to wait a little bit, and then I'm going to hard prune it and see if it comes back, because trees are very, very resilient. And we'll see what happens. These bananas look like we'll see if they come back. The moringas will be okay. I'm pretty sure the mulberry will be fine. I'm going to hard prune that once it's done. This guy took quite a bit of damage because the second frost. See, the first frost that we had, he did fine, but this time he got hit pretty hard because we had 2 nights below freezing. So, but there again, I'll hard prune it and see what comes back. I covered as best as I could. The Sumo citrus I completely covered, and I covered the tangerine. And what I did over here with this Tice mulberry, because it just wasn't looking very good to begin with, so I noticed that they had these little growth nodes right here. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, there you go, right there. And that's kind of all up and down this. So what I did was just cut that, like basically just prune it completely, and then I covered this whole thing to keep it protected from frost. So hopefully it'll come back, but it wasn't looking very good even before we got cold, so that's why I went ahead and did it. The dragon fruit, I guess it's doing all right. If that doesn't work, I'm just gonna have to order some actual dragon fruit starts and try to do that. Mango got burned. Everything did worse the second time around, because everything looked fine the first time around. But then like I said, we had 2 nights at freezing, so it was very hard to. But there again, I wrapped the base of the trunk, trying to protect the trunk and the roots, because that's what's more important. And when I know there's no more danger of frost, I'll come out and hard prune it. I'm not worried about the peach, because peaches actually need some cold. They need some chill hours. My Florida avocado, I'm not so sure. He looks pretty rough. But we will see what happens. The acerola doesn't look very good, but again, we will see what happens. Trees are, you'd be surprised when you think, like I said, my tangerine back there, I ran it over with a lawnmower, and I thought, well, this thing is certainly a goner, but I thought, just leave it in the ground and see what happens, because it's not hurting anything. And sure enough, it's starting to come back. So my amazement is these guys, the loquats, they did very well. Looks like they barely got any damage. They got a little bit of frost damage, but they hardly had anything. With this one, I just took and it looks like something's been in here, probably an armadillo rooting around it, moved everything around, but I took all this dead, a lot of this is Spanish needle. I cut a bunch of it, piled it underneath to protect and insulate this one. But yeah, I mean, the leaves don't even really look like they've taken a lot of damage, and a lot of this is new, like baby growth up here, and they look fine. So I was pleasantly surprised at how well the loquats, both of my loquats, did. The bottle brush did take some damage. You can see some of the dead leaves at the bottom there, but for the most part it looks fine. It'll come back. Yeah, this is my other, look, that's one of those wasps right there, that if you, I'm pretty sure that's one of those wasps that if you had mangoes or papayas, especially papayas, they will lay their eggs in there and it will destroy the fruit. But sorry to this little guy, I don't have any of that, so I got nothing for you. But yeah, you can see like one of the baby leaves got burned, but in this one over here kind of got burned right there. But yeah, they did really well. The loquats did really well. I didn't even do anything with this pomegranate, because it doesn't ever do anything to begin with. So, and the second freeze that we had, I completely covered this, what's supposed to be a Pakistani mulberry. I covered it completely that way because it was struggling to begin with, and then I pruned it and it was starting to come back, and I'm like, look, I don't want to completely lose it, so I covered it, and it's doing okay. The figs were dormant, so I didn't really worry about the figs. So, and then like I said, I insulated these moringa trees, so they should come back. I may have to cut them back more because I didn't get the insulation up high enough, so I may have to cut the trunk back more, but they should be fine. I want the trunk to kind of be low so it starts to branch out instead of just growing one tall twig. So let me go get I'm going to get my pruning shears and cut these pumpkins. But yeah, hopefully here soon I'm going to start getting prepped. I mean, the rutabaga is still growing, but everything else kicked the bucket. I had pruned this cranberry hibiscus completely off, hoping that it would come back stronger and it would save it from any cold weather. So we'll see what it does. A lot of times when I think it's dead, it tends to come back. I don't know. But yeah, we had a lot more damage the second time around, because it was like one weekend we had one night hit freezing, and like you can see this, and I had covered this banana, but it still took damage. I covered it the second time around, and it's on the south facing wall of my house, so I figured that it would get, and it probably did get, better protection. What kind of spider is that? Sorry, off subject here. I don't know what kind of spider that is, but yeah, we had more damage the second time. Like my black sapote here, it you can see is losing, is dropping everything. The first time we had a freeze, it did fine. Like, it looked completely normal. There was no frost damage whatsoever. Now it is, it's got damage and leaves are falling off. You can see them all down there. But this is my other star fruit here. I think it did okay because it's kind of under this big oak tree here. There's a really big oak tree, and that can somewhat protect it from getting frost settling on it. But it's also close to the wall of my house, so my passion vine took damage the second time. We'll see what it does. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not all that worried about it. I'm really not. We just don't use passion fruit all that much. So if this thing completely dies, then it dies. I'm not gonna sound like Rocky. If it dies, it dies. But I'm not gonna worry about it. Oh, there's a green anole. It just went and hid, so I can't see it. But I'm not gonna really worry about it if it completely dies. But again, it may be one of those things. I prune it back, and then it takes off again. I want to check on the yam that I have over here. I'm about to have to harvest these yams because the vines have died back completely now because of the cold. So you can see that dead vine right there was the yam. You can see it coming out of the ground down there. So I'm gonna have to dig both of those up, see how big they are. First of all, if they're not big enough, I'm gonna replant them. If they are big enough, I'll take cuttings and replant them. But if they're big enough, we'll have yams to eat. But ginger had already gone dormant. Basically, ginger dies back every winter, whether it gets cold or not. It just dies back. Looks like the mint might be starting to spread, which is what I want. I wouldn't mind it at all if mint just took off in here. Mint, I've heard that mint does like to spread like that. But ginger will completely, it just dies, and you think, oh man, it's dead. It's not dead. My comfrey did okay because it's up underneath this tree. So, but it's not dead. It's not dead at all. It completely dies at the same time every year, and the leaves are gone. You think it's dead, but then once spring comes around and the weather warms up completely, it'll come right back. And a lot of times when it does that, you'll notice that it comes back and it has spread, so it's more vigorous. I took this moss here, I think I may have talked about this in the last video, and I covered the vanilla a little bit to protect it some, but I wasn't overly worried about it because it's underneath these trees. You can see it did fine. I don't know how orchids do with cold. I would suspect not very well, because I think orchids are more tropical and vanilla is an orchid, but they did okay. I wasn't overly worried about them because, like I said, I put that moss to insulate them a little bit, and that way if some of the leaves or the vine died, I would have cut it and it would have kept going. But my aloe got burned some. I protected my pineapple so that it did fine. Yeah, I don't really have a whole bunch to fertilize today, so I probably will just not worry about it today. I might do it tomorrow. But let me get these shears, and I'm going to start cutting some of these pumpkins because they're not going to ripen anymore out there. So I'm going to try to cut them and see if they ripen inside. And that'll be it for the pumpkins. I could plant more. We'll see. They're always a good thing to have around because they're versatile, so you can do a bunch of stuff with them. and they're very, very good to eat. But I'm just not sure about some of them. Like this one, it didn't get ripe enough, but it's gonna die if it stays out here because there's nothing feeding it. The vine is dead. So soon I'm gonna come out here and I'm gonna start oh, there's something bored into that one. You can see right there. I may just toss him because we're not going to be able to, it won't be able to ripen inside. And something got it right there too. Yep. Gonna have to chunk them. I'm gonna laugh if we get a bunch of pumpkins growing in there now, because that thing will decompose and we'll start getting, the seeds will get to the ground. But some of these I'm not gonna worry about saving. Like this one. Oh, that one just pulled right off. I don't think that one was developed enough. But we'll save it, why not? But yeah, we'll see if these ripen, because some of them weren't ripe. They weren't ripe enough. They weren't far along enough when the frost hit and killed the vines. So they just didn't, like this little guy here. I'm not gonna fool with him. He looks like he could be ripe, but he's got holes all in him too, so we'll toss him in the ferns. That's what I do with things that I don't need. I just toss them in the ferns. We'll see if we get a bunch of volunteer pumpkins. I don't know about some of these a lot of these have holes in them, and I can't take a chance and they're not ready. See, like I can't use that. If it were pretty much already ripe, then I could take it and use it immediately. But you don't want to let pumpkins sit and cure if they have holes in them, because they will start to rot. This one will be okay. I don't see any holes in it. But yeah, if you have a pumpkin that's matured enough, you can just use it right away and it'll be fine. If it has something, I can see the little grub that starting to eat them. See, I'm gonna have to chop that one because I saw actually the little grub starting to eat it, or that was eating it. But if they're ripe enough, you can use them right away instead of letting them cure. And they still taste okay. They just won't be as sweet. If they have some cosmetic damage, but no, like you can tell that the hole didn't get all the way through the rind, then it'll be fine. But if you can tell that the hole reached all the way through, whatever little bug, worm, whatever, reached all the way through into the actual fruit, if it's ripe enough, you can cut that part out and then just eat it and not let it sit. If it's not ripe enough, like these, if you have a case like this where these aren't ripe enough, I can't let them, I can't use them right away, but I also can't let them sit, then you have to, I don't know, some people might still use them, but I'm not. I think you just need to get rid of, you need to throw them away, because they're not ready to be eaten yet, but they can't sit and ripen anymore because there's a bug eating it, and the insides are exposed to the air and everything, and it will start to rot. So I think this is the last one. But some of these have got this weird, these little things here, but I don't see, it looks like it's just on the outside. I don't see anything going all the way in. So we'll take it inside and let it sit. Hopefully it will ripen some more. If not, I got probably, I think total that we've used maybe like 15 this season, this fall, because this was the fall crop. So I think we'll be okay. I still have like 10 of them in there that we haven't used. I'm just making sure I didn't miss any. So I think I got them all. And I think I'm going to stop here. I'm going to do another video. I'm going to add to this because I've got something that I want to talk about, but I'm not going to do it out here. I will be in the car and I will continue this video. Excuse the train. But with that, I think I'm going to cut it off and I will see you again in a little bit. Okay, like I said, I wanted to do a little bit. I wanted to add something on to the end of this video. So I've done sort of a call to action before, and I guess this is sort of the same thing, but it's also sort of a warning. Anybody watching the channel, I don't have a lot of followers yet, but if anyone happens to come across the channel, I'm sure everybody knows about the trucker convoy happening in Canada. And without getting too much into the politics of all that stuff, because that's not, I have my own opinions and beliefs about all of it, but that's not really what my channel is about. It's about homesteading. So sorry, I got distracted. I want to kind of give a bit of a warning, because the trucker convoy happening in Canada, primarily is going to affect Canada. And there's going to be effects felt here, sure, especially because there are some American truckers that have gone up there, but it's primarily going to affect those in Canada. However, I do think that we're going to see this happen in the United States. I think that it's going to come to the, sorry, I'm trying to get my camera straight. I think it's going to come to the United States. I don't know if the Canadian truck drivers are going to come to the United States. There may be some of them that do, but I 100% suspect that you're going to see an American trucker convoy happen within the near future. Especially, I think it's also going to be somewhat dependent on the outcome of the Canadian one, but I think you can expect to see it happen in the United States in the near future. So what does that mean for us? That means that we're going to have a lot of shortages. A lot of shortages. Yeah, we've had some shortages here and there. You'll have the random cream cheese. There's a shortage of cream cheese right now in my grocery store. You can't find, if you go to the freezer section and look where the frozen potatoes would be, it's bare. There's nothing. There's just nothing. There's no frozen French fries, frozen tater tots, frozen potatoes of any kind. That's just, they're gone. I just saw yesterday a friend that I have on Facebook that I believe is in Georgia said that they went to their local supermarket and there were absolutely no eggs. Meat was scarce. So, not much meat, no eggs. Now, take it into perspective, because you have to get a perspective on it, because that may just be one store in one section and stuff like that, and they may, depending on the day, they may not have gotten their shipment in yet, stuff like that. But I recently listened to an episode of the Survival Podcast, and Jack Spirko was talking about, how do most things get to you? Most things. And I'm not, this is not just food products. This is not just, personal goods, stuff like that. This is things like gasoline. It gets here by truck. You know, you have your tanker trucks, you have your milk trucks, you have your, you know, food trucks, all that sort of stuff. Most things get where they get by semi-truck. So if we have a truckers convoy, a trucker strike, trucker rebellion, whatever you want to call it, in the United States, if you think that we have shortages now, just hold on to your hats. And I'm not trying to say that to necessarily, I mean, I kind of want to scare people in the sense that I want their light bulbs to go off in their heads and go, oh, we need to start doing something about this, you know. But I don't want to scare people into thinking that, you know, this is the end of the world as we know it type thing. But I want to instill in people enough that this is gonna, if we have a trucker convoy, as much as we're seeing effects from the Canadian one, if we have one in the US, the shortages that you've seen are gonna be nothing compared to the shortages we're gonna have. And again, like I said, it's not just gonna be food. It's not just gonna be toilet paper. It's gonna be gas and all sorts of things. It's gonna be hardware. It's gonna be, you know, plywood. It's gonna be, I mean, everything you can imagine, because I would probably say at least 95, if not more percent, of things that get to your grocery stores, get to your Walmarts, your Home Depots, anywhere, it comes by a truck. And, you know, I've seen people say that this is going to push the automation even further, where we have automated trucks that don't need drivers. Maybe, you know, but you can't do that overnight. It's not like they can just start, you know, well, and, you know, like Jack said in his episode, it's not like, you know, they have a minor league of truckers where they can say, well, we've got all these truckers that won't drive, so we'll pull these other truckers up and put them to work. No, when the truckers go on strike, the truckers are on strike. Yeah, we may have some new ones that take up their slack a little bit, but if we have as big of a convoy in the US as they have in Canada right now, where it's like over 50,000 truckers, you know, and it could be more, because, you know, the US is more densely populated than Canada. So it could be more. There could be more truckers that take up a convoy in the U.S. All I'm saying is the shortages that we've seen so far are not going to be. You're going to wish that that's all that we had to deal with. I know in my area, gas prices are already going up. Of course, the price of literally everything is going up. But it's time. It's time that we get serious about, you know, if you're into the prepping world, it's time to get serious about that. I'm sorry, my phone keeps turning, so it's you know, I look crooked, but it's time to get serious about it. It's time to get serious about growing your own food, and that, whether that means just gardening or raising your own, you know, livestock, whatever that means to you. But it's time to get serious about it. People have for too long now sat around in comfort, and, you know, that's good on one hand, but on the other hand, you know, comfortable times make soft people. I mean, as boomerish as that may sound, it's the truth. Comfortable times make soft people, because we don't think that we need to do anything. You know, we can just, you know, it doesn't matter. We can just, we're not going to run out of food. Just go to the grocery store. We're not going to run out of gas. You know, just go to the gas station. We're we're not going to run out of hardware supplies, or just go to Home Depot. It's no big deal. Well, when you can't get shipments and your grocery store shelves are bare, it's a big deal. And, nobody, when the times are comfortable, foresees that coming. And the people who do foresee it and still want to be prepared for it are usually labeled as weirdos and conspiracy theorists and stuff like that. Well, I think it's time to say an apology to some of your conspiracy theorist friends, because they were right. Guys like Jack Spirko with the Survival Podcast, Curtis Stone, the Urban Farmer, Nicole Sauce with Living Free in Tennessee. A lot of these people who've been saying for years now, you need to be prepared, you need to be prepared. Wrangler Star, he's another one out in Oregon has been big on preparedness and stuff like that. It's time to say, you know what, guys, we were wrong, you were right, and it's time to actually put our feet on the ground and get going with this. We need to prepare ourselves. We need to grow our own food. We need to prepare as best as we can. I'm not necessarily saying go out and buy every package of toilet paper that's out there, but I'm saying, you need to start stocking up. You need to start stocking up on, and please don't stock up on toilet paper. If our grocery store shelves are bare, the last thing you're going to be worried about is toilet paper. It's time to start stocking up on non-perishables, on canned goods. You need to set up something and have it ready to go, because if a trucker convoy, trucker strike, whatever happens in the United States, which I think is very highly likely, this is what we're going to be faced with. We're going to have shortages. So I wanted to put that out there, because I think more people need to hear it, and people need to take it more seriously. And don't wait until the last minute and say, well, now I'm going to go ahead and run to the, anyone who's lived in Florida long enough, you know what happens. Anytime there's a hurricane on the way, what happens? People run to the store. It's a madhouse. The shelves are empty. People are fighting each other over cases of water and all this other stuff. Don't wait until then. Start now. Start stocking up now. Every time you go to the grocery store, buy a little extra canned goods, buy a little extra non-perishables. Get a big bag of rice, get a big bag of beans, get a big bag of noodles, get a big bag, stuff like that. Things like peanut butter and stuff like that. Start stocking up on that. And, it's because that you don't want to be caught at the last second and everything be in panic mode, and now you're scrambling to get things to put food on the table. So I felt like I needed to give that little, like I said, I'm not trying to terrify everybody, but I want to scare people enough that they'll actually go out and start doing this. And it's because it's time. Let's get ahead of the 8 ball. Even though we're kind of behind the 8 ball, we can still kind of get ahead of the 8 ball, because it hasn't happened yet. But yeah, it's time to get prepared, time to be more serious about this. So thanks again for watching. Sorry if I seem like I'm rambling. I just felt like I needed to say something about this. Please subscribe to the channel. Help me grow this community. I can't do it on my own. And yeah, I'll be back next week with a new video, and I appreciate everybody who stops by and watches. Drop a line, let me know you were here. I love to hear from everybody, and take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next week.